This morning we are going to be doing really 3 separate things that are exciting and are new, and one of it which is challenging, and I'm going to, in fact, end with the challenging because of our success. And that is some of the changes that are coming in commencement, which are wonderful because of our success. It's going to make for one long day, and we'll talk about that. And it's my fault. I'll say that from the very beginning, because I refuse to give tickets that limit the numbers of our families who can come to commencement. So we've run out of the World Arena. And we're going to be talking about, this is basically good news. I'm getting you ready for what good news this really is. No, it is. I'm excited. But first you're going to be hearing from Susan Spurkin, from Gary Reynolds, about where we are with the facilities master plan. Then you're going to get an update from our social media strategies and how, in fact, that is moving forward. And then I'm going to close with commencement. And then we hopefully will have time for a few questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Susan and Gary.
Gary and I are going to tag team this morning just to kind of mix it up and keep you all awake. Watch different presenters. Gary's going to lead off, just basically first giving you an overview. We have just a few projects in our queue.
We've done an update of the master plan earlier, but the difference we're going to do today is we're going to tie this back to the strategic plan. You know, buildings are more than just brick and mortar. They really tie to what this university is about. And that very massive strategic planning process we went through early really has played out in terms of how the master plan was developed, and then also how we're moving forward with implementing it. So our goal today is to show you how the master plan, the brick and the mortar, fits with all the other pieces of the university and the strategic plan. But first I want to share with you a number of the projects that we have going on the campus. So this is the master plan as it finally was completed. It's available on our website, on our facility services website. But I'd like to just quickly show you the locations of the number of the projects that are going on, and then we'll get into the specifics. So the first project down here, you've already seen it going up, the Summit Village expansion. That consisted of 2 pieces actually. 18 beds were built in a conversion, and then 192 beds in the new facilities, and Susan will talk a little more about that. The next project is the Lane Center. You've probably seen those big piles of dirt down on North Nevada. We're actually able to excavate the dirt and then retain some of it to put back, and I'll talk about the Lane Center a little bit more. So the next project, doesn't want to click, there we go. A parking facility with a recreational field on top, and that project is in design, and Susan will talk about that one a little more. And then a rec center expansion. The students voted to extend their fee or expand their fee to pay for an expansion of the rec center. And so that's the location, both remodeling of the rec center and an expansion into parking lot 8. We're also, Susan's doing an evaluation of adding more housing to the campus. That came out of the master plan study as well. And let's keep this going. We're looking at a health and wellness building, number 2, that would be associated with the Lane Center. And I have a graphic to show that to you and expand on that. And then we're doing a feasibility study. We're just getting started on that on the visual and performing arts. I'll talk a little more about that one. And then a track and soccer field in the athletic region of the campus. So there's a few projects either under construction, in design, or we're looking at moving forward with. There we go. So the Lane Center, I'd just like to talk about that for a second. It's a very exciting project. I think it relates to the strategic plan in a number of ways. We've kind of listed the ideas down here: academic programs and research, revenue growth, expanding our infrastructure, and the partnerships. And this is a really exciting facility in my mind. The School of, the College of Nursing and Health Sciences is going to be partly located down there. They're going to have some wellness program pieces. Some of those pieces will be on their own, like a nutrition kitchen and a gym for exercise. But then there's also going to be a component of the wellness that's going to work directly with Peak Vista. So they've actually are going to be co-located on the same floor, sharing exam rooms, working together. And then on another floor, we have the CU Aging Center, the Gerontology Center, and the Trauma, Health, and Hazard Center. And they all are going to work together, along with a few staff in the psych department that are associated with CU Aging and Gerontology. And then on the fourth floor of the School of Medicine, you've probably all been reading and heard about that whole transformation with Memorial Hospital, et cetera. And we're going to have a branch medical campus that we're working towards developing here. The first piece of this is to work with the School of Medicine to have third and fourth year students down here on our campus. I view this center as really exciting. And imagine this, if you will. You have an elderly parent that you bring into Peak Vista who has some challenges. They do some diagnosis, maybe recommend them to the CU Aging Center or Gerontology Center for some help with maybe Alzheimer's or some other challenges. Maybe they have some nutritional issues, and so they could be advised to come to the nutrition kitchen, which will be in the facility on a Tuesday evening, and get some nutritional help. Or maybe they have some physical challenges, and so they could come on Thursday evenings to the gym. And so it's going to be a nice integrated center, a great community partnership, but it's also integrated with our academic programs as well. So it's not just this only a community center. It's a nice partnership. So that's the Lane Center. And I'll turn this over to Susie.
Thank you. So if you haven't seen Summit Village expansion, you haven't been walking anywhere to the west or driving anywhere to the west of probably Osborne, because it's hard to miss right now. We will open this in August of this year. We're selling rooms, so we have to open it in August of this year. It's just not an option. We're very excited to have this open, and we do see that this ties to a lot of our strategic goals that are in our strategic plan 2012-2020. I've identified 7 of them there for you, but I do want to point out that it's possible to draw a link between these projects with just about every goal that we have set. We just have picked out those that have a pretty significant impact to what we want to do as a campus as we grow over the next now 7 years, because it's 2013. Clearly, it's linked to student success. Many of you know that last fall we had a real challenge. We actually ran out of rooms, and we knew we were out of rooms right around the first part of June. We were seeing us going in that direction and started working to find options. And it's interesting that we signed the contract the day before the fire. So we had the fire, plus then we had about 4 weeks to purchase the furnishings, get all of the utilities switched, work on our IT infrastructure, hire RAs, hire a manager to come in and help work that facility and get it ready. And I really do think that's a team effort from a lot of people in this room, from all different divisions. We had a lot of help from academic affairs, from student success, and admin finance to do that. But it did probably contribute to our ability to make many of our enrollment goals this last fall, particularly with our out-of-state student mix. This also ties to international programs, because the Office of International Affairs will be in this building, and that will be a very welcome change for them. They're a little scattered around, but it's also going to be great for our students, because they're going to be located in the same building that we've designed with some additional features that may be of interest to our international student client base. Particularly, there'll be a little kitchenette in those suites, which we don't have in any of our first-year experience rooms right now. And that's to assist in any kind of particular food preparation that's necessary, and to segregate that food preparation from hand washing and other sink areas around the bathroom. Campus community, clearly, we know that we've seen a difference in the vibrancy on campus with our resident students, and it's contributing to our commuter students as well in terms of how they feel about UCCS and how they're more identifying themselves now as mountain lions. And if you had a chance to go to the basketball game Friday night, that was just absolutely exciting, and the student stands were packed. In fact, the Gallagly Event Center was packed. I started to sweat bullets, and and try and hide from the chancellor because I know the next thing's going to be, this isn't large enough. Of course, she's sitting right there, so I might as well just say it right out there. But these are all good problems to have. Clearly, we see housing as a contributing factor towards a diverse student population in terms of where our students come from, in terms of what we offer for students, and just in terms of the entire communication and community building that we do in housing and the rest of the campus. Our enrollment growth, already mentioned, it's pretty important. Chris Beiswinger starts in about December wanting to know what the application numbers are. Greg starts popping in about March wanting to know what's going on with housing and where are we at. And Matthew, I expect to start seeing emails from him very soon here, what's going on with housing. And we are already up based on last year, although the N is very small, so it's kind of hard to gauge. That clearly contributes to enrollment growth. And if you read the 2012-2020 strategic plan, you'll see that we've pretty much laid it out towards the end of that book, what our enrollment does for our revenue growth, and then our opportunities on campus in terms of expanding academic programs and services. And then, of course, infrastructure, because all of this, you'll see infrastructure on every slide. All of this is building more campus infrastructure, building for the future. I don't know, which way do I go? There we go. Parking garage and recreational field. That is, as Gary said, that's in design. It's a very aggressive schedule. We hope to open this in March of 2014. The program plan calls for 1,227 parking stalls, and the chancellor says that number exactly right now, 1,227. So I turned to the project manager, Charles, and I said, you cannot change this number. He said, I think we've changed it. I don't want to hear it. Change it up, that's okay. The really interesting feature here is that it's going to have that playing field on top, and that's part of a combined funding strategy with recreational center revenues as well as parking. To be able to add a field is very important for our campus. If we look at the National Intramural Rec Sport Association NERSA standards, we should have an acre of intramural playing space, field playing space, per 1,000 students. And right now we have 0. We should have about 10. That was a pretty easy equation for justification in the program plan with the region. So we're going to go from 0 to 1. But it is actually a serious problem for us, and anyone in recreational services will tell you it's a problem. Right now we schedule our recreational field activities on Mountain Lion Stadium's field from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. because that's the only time we can get field time. This will be dedicated exclusively to recreational activity. It will not be used for intercollegiate activity, intercollegiate athletic sports at all. So I think that the other part of this that's very exciting is it is a contributor to our sustainability commitment because we are not using as much of a footprint. We're not 1,227 stalls. If you can imagine how big that footprint would be, that's every surface parking lot we have. That takes up a lot of room. We're stacking it. It costs more to do that, but we're saving our land for other important initiatives, one of which is open space, because we still have a strong commitment, if you look at our master plan, to open space. And then by putting the field on top, that's yet another gain. So clearly the student success, but the campus community part is as well, because all of the faculty and staff can join the recreation center. Nina?
Is the field going to be grass, real grass?
No, it'll be artificial turf. Yeah, and we've studied that. Real grass is not a very good idea in our particular climate, and it's also not a good idea in cold climate on top of tons and tons of concrete, where we really do hope it snows for the moisture, and that just causes a lot of problems with the concrete structure that's supporting that field. Actually, we have artificial turf surface in one of the quads over in the housing village that is a very popular space in February, particularly, like now when it's warm, because that's always warm. Academic office building, as Gary showed you, this is going down to the south of where the current parking garage sits, and that building called the City Building will be taken down. Parking will be taken offline during the construction of this project, but will return after it's completed. It's about a $16 million project, and that's to put 4 finished stories, and we'll put a 5th floor that we will not finish. And we're going to lock off the elevator at floor 4 because we really don't want the 5th floor to turn into those of you who've been around a while will know what I say, former science crawl space. So those of you who've been here a while know what that looked like. We're going to try and prevent the 5th floor of academic office building from becoming the storage center for the university. It will open in the fall of 2014. I think Gary is still working to fine-tune some of the office areas, but it's going to have about 100 offices. It will have no classrooms in it at all. And graduate school, or I still said that, SPA. School of Public Affairs. Terry and Mary Lou aren't here. Okay, good. We need to cut that out of the web stream. School of Public Affairs will be there, and a variety of LAS departments will be there as well. As you can see, academic programs are very linked to this particular building. It's really important to have faculty if we're going to have academic programs, and it's really important for faculty to have a place to work and meet with students and conduct their research and their preparation for classes, et cetera. Student success, campus community, obviously enrollment growth, revenue growth, and infrastructure are part of this building. Recreation center expansion. That design work is going to start here in probably the next 2 to 3 months. We should be going out with the request for proposal from design teams later this month and then picking a team. We will not break ground till after the parking garage opens in March of 14, which is really one of the reasons we're pushing this garage. We've got to replace the parking by the rec center before we take it away, because it is a cultural universal on university campuses that you build parking and put in the infrastructure, so 5 years later you can dig it up and put in a building, and that's what we're doing. And that's why we're putting in the garage, which I'm very excited about. It's the first time I can remember we're putting parking in before we take it away. It's like, that's my thing. Actually, it's not my thing so much as it is Jim Spice's now, but some of us can't get out of our past. This is a very exciting building to expand. We will be adding another two-court gymnasium because, again, our activity is so robust in the rec center that we can't really accommodate all of our patrons during certain times. They have peak times just like retail has peak times at Christmas, and there are times you cannot get on a machine, so we will be expanding the fitness floor as well. We're definitely expanding our shower situation. I think we have 6 showers per area, 6 women, 6 men, and that isn't really adequate for 10,000 students and then the faculty and staff. So that's going to get a nice increase as well. One of the things that we're also studying, and I'm still trying to figure out the money on this, we'll probably know by the end of this month, is the addition of a wellness center, adding about another 11,000 gross square feet to this project, where we would then move the student health center and student counseling and combine those departments into one service center and really create a specific entrance and welcome area for our students who are looking for those services. And it can actually give us some pretty significant economies of scale operating wise to combine them just in terms of front office support staff and back office support staff and then collaboration between the providers. So Binnick and Stephanie are working with me on the feasibility study for that, and we'll have that figured out before we go out with the RFP for the designer. Clearly, student success, campus community, enrollment growth, and revenue growth and infrastructure. And it is true that our students did vote an increase in their fee. They voted it in. It had a very high vote count of the number of students who voted. It was the highest number with a yes. So that fee will kick in the fall of 2014. The rec center will open in probably fall of 15. Oh, new housing complex. Right now, we've completed a feasibility study with an architectural firm that Gary and I worked on with them, and it's now in the stage of trying to see if we can financially model this as a viable option for us. Now, one of our big challenges as we look at the strategic plan is that we need to have over 13,000 students by 2020. And that may not be something we can achieve if we don't have the appropriate first-year experience living for these students. And this is particularly true with students who come from out of our local market where they can't commute. And that doesn't mean necessarily out of state. It could be Denver, and it could be the southern part of the state. It's the western slope. These students have a desire to live on campus. Their parents have a significant desire for them to live on campus. And Barbara and Greg and Chris and Ralph and Tamara and I are very, very intimately acquainted with that desire of parents for their child to live here. But we also know, based on some really good work that Barbara and the First Year Experience Office has been doing in studying the different cohorts going through housing, that we're almost 5% higher our students are likely to be successful, retained, and graduate if they have that first-year experience on campus. So there's a lot of reasons to have additional housing in the future. When this will be, I don't know. When it will start, when it will finish. We're still layering that in. I've had some good discussions with Greg and with Chris and others on how we're building this enrollment growth and our targeted recruitments. And Homer, of course, has had a huge part in that, as has Brian Burnett and the Chancellor. But it's a pretty big price tag. Right now, 500 beds with a dining hall is coming in at around $72 million. So this isn't something that we want to enter into lightly, and it does cause me it's one of those things that does cause me sleepless nights.
Where would this one?
This would be over in, right now the place we sited it, and siting areas can always change, but right now what we've been looking at is parking lot number 9, which is north of Alpine Village. And it's actually another reason that we have cited the new parking garage at the corner of Stanton and Austin Bluffs, because that parking garage could pick up that housing parking need. We would be replacing, we'd have to be replacing over 400 parking stalls in Lot 9. And the feasibility showed us that we could actually mass about 900 to, even depending on how high our towers went, we could probably get higher than 900 beds eventually. So this would be like a phase 1. Our real issue with Summit Village is we're landlocked. We have to have a first-year village where students can comfortably walk to eat. The dining hall is their kitchen. And we could not be putting students out north of Alpine Village and expect them to walk to our current dining hall. Also, our current dining hall can't expand. We're going to do a little expansion this summer to accommodate the new towers, and that's it. We've run out of land. Coffee shop. So some of you may not have heard about the coffee shop. Aren't you? The students have heard about it. The Chancellor got cornered last night. When's the coffee shop going up? This is actually kind of fun, and this is a project that Gary and I, because we work on so many of these, and I figure out the funding, and he figures out how it's all going to lay out in the schedule and assign the staff. And then Gary and I oftentimes, I walk away unless they're running out of money, and Gary is only coming in if they're having like a lot of infrastructure issues. But this is when Gary and I are going to take ownership of, because we are so excited about the coffee shop. So if any of you are in Columbine, and I know looking around, many of you are, that little coffee shop is a little out of space. It is really performing well, but we can't grow it in any way. And now we're adding an academic office building with, potentially 100 more faculty located just down the hill. So we've looked at the space that used to be the basketball court, the old basketball court, that is just to the west of Columbine Hall, south of the Summit Village. And we did a feasibility study where we could place an appropriate-sized standalone coffee shop there. That one is definitely going to happen. We just haven't queued it in as to when it will start. There will be a branded shop. Don't know the brand yet. We're looking at a lot of different options. But the idea here is that it will have inside dining opportunities, like you would expect at a Starbucks, wireless, of course. But the views there are so fantastic that we think it could be a wonderful student and faculty social engagement space. So we'll be looking at outdoor space, rooftop dining, and we want to, now I hesitate to say this. Gary's like, you're not really going to say that, are you? Yeah, I am. we're really going to try and make this our first LEED Platinum building. And this is why Gary and I are excited, because we're going to put a lot of sustainable features in that we haven't been able to afford in other buildings, and that we'd like to try on a smaller scale. It would be a lot better to try it on a scale this size than on a housing complex that's $72 million. That has a greater impact if we mess up. So we're very much looking forward to rain gardens and reuse of water that's just used to rinse vegetables, maybe having separate plumbing that takes that water right out to a garden. And again, of course, we'll have all the amenities, the wireless, and I think our biggest problem with this coffee shop is we won't build it big enough. I think that's going to be our biggest challenge. But again, the footprint is restrictive. So people have said, when's that going to be? I don't know. But I think that it maybe sometime fall 14, spring 15. It's really not an opening that's tied to the academic calendar. So we try not to push these dates where we have to open. Carolyn, we have to open. And Jeff, Summit Village, expansion, August. Yes, we do. Or those students are going home with both of you. We have to hit that date. But with something like this, we don't. And as Gary has often said, you can get 3 things in construction, or you can have 3 things in construction, you can get 2 of the 3. You can get price, quality, or schedule. But you're not going to get all 3. So we're going to really go after the quality and the pricing on this project. And I think it's now Gary's turn. Maybe it's dead. Tim's checking it for me. Tyson's checking it. Well, maybe you'll be magical with it.
Oh.
No, Tim did that. You didn't do that.
So just to follow up on a couple of the feasibility studies we're doing, the building that's kind of in the center of that drawing is the Lane Center. And while it'll look a little different than this, it'll look substantially like that. Then you can see a bridge-connected facility sitting up on the knoll. And that was a first look at adding additional facilities down there that would be health and wellness oriented. We are also taking a look to, which would be to the left of the Lane Center building, to the north of it, as a potential alternate site. The idea that we're looking at here is to continue to expand the community connection with potential health partners in town, as well as expanding the academic connection with those community partners. And there's a number of things that are underway taking a look at that. My charge right now is to sort out the size of the building, the location, and the costs, et cetera. And once we sort of get that fitted together, we can start to see who the occupants might be. Oh, all right. So visual and performing arts. If you know where the Four Diamonds parking lot is down there next to this, that's where this building is sitting. So we wipe out more parking. The visual performing arts is, if you're familiar with that department, they're actually, along with the Gallery of Contemporary Art and Theater Works, you kind of take that group of visual performing arts amenities, and they are scattered literally from one end of the campus to the other. We have a building south of the campus where set building goes on. The Fine Arts Studio is down in the modulars down on near North Nevada. You've got Theater Works and U-Haul. You couldn't hardly separate these programs across this campus. So our goal here is to not only bring the Gallery of Contemporary Art and Theater Works together, but the academic theater program and the art program, art history program, film studies programs, and bring them together into one facility. We probably will not be doing this as one large building. What we're showing here is basically a piece of this which would be oriented towards the performing arts side of it to start with. And then maybe the Gallery of Contemporary Art would fit in there as well, which is a visual art piece. So we've just started the process. We've identified the architect that's going to help us, a firm that's done a lot of work here in the state of Colorado on visual and performing arts facilities to help guide us through the feasibility study. And then, if you remember the last little thing on the map that I showed you, a soccer a field with a track around it. And we're thinking of this as more than, like Mountain Line Field is down at the Four Diamonds area. This would be truly a stadium. And we're working with an artist now, right, to just develop a rendering to get some ideas of what we would like to do. And then we will take this into the next step of a feasibility study to figure out the exact sizes, costs, etc. One of the things that we did when the University Village, Colorado was built, we worked a deal with them where they needed earth to put underneath all the big box stores over there. And so we had them excavate that soils from our property in a way that it would be useful to us. So if you've driven by in North Nevada, you see a temporary parking lot sitting there. That's parking lot 15 to help alleviate some of the parking problems. But that is actually the arena site. And then just to the east of that, up the hill a ways, there's a bowl already been cut out of the hillside to take our track. And so all that dirt's across the street, and it didn't cost us anything to get there. So one of those kind of partnerships, again, to get where we're trying to go. So the feasibility study from this will follow from this development so that we can have a rough idea of the facilities. Just to lay this out real quick, to the east side, to the right of the drawing, not shown completely drawn in yet, is our facilities with maybe some box seating above it. On this side would be the visitors' facilities and entrance, and then at the south end would be the support facilities for the team locker rooms, etc. One of the things that we're looking at is to make this ADA accessible, and so working with the Special Olympics programs, the potential Wounded Warriors programs, etc. So once again, this community connection that the university is very strong in supporting, and the chancellor supports very much as well. So this won't just be an athletic field for UCCS, this will be a community amenity connecting with the other groups. So, whoops, that went too far. I think that takes us through what's going on in the campus. Susan and I would be glad to take any questions you might have. Yep, all right. Yeah. We do have a large number of small renovations going on around the campus, adjusting offices and suites and things like that. And then the University Center has projects that are going on the auxiliary side as well. So I think we're around 50 projects, what we call our small little projects, going on campus besides these major ones as well.
This actually, the third floor of this building is the next one on the University Center side of the refurbishment.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil Denman. I work in University Advancement as the social media and communication specialist. Let's see if this is working. There we go. All right, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end of the presentation, or you can email me or call me at any time. All right, perfect, thank you. All right. So when you hear social media, most of you probably have an image in your mind. You're probably thinking of sharing statuses and photos with family and friends, seeing people's dogs and what they had for dinner, all the use of stuff that people use in their daily lives. And while some of that does play into what we do, we're trying to do a lot more than just that. So for us, social media is web-based technology that turns communication into interactive dialogue. So it's the methodology and the way that you use it to really communicate with people. It turns it into a two-way street of interaction. It's a way where students can talk to us and we can talk to them. We can provide them information and answer any sort of questions. So sites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Flickr, all of these allow us to build our brand, showcase what we're doing as a university, and connect with all of our audiences. And we have a ton of audiences. So it's really a way to do some one-stop shopping and communicate with everybody. It allows us to do that with one click and talk to everybody, or we can talk to individuals who ask us questions. We can engage with them specifically on a one-on-one plane. So if that's not enough to say, well, why are we doing this? There are some reasons. So according to a recent Noel Levitt's survey that surveyed 2,000 college-bound seniors, 46% said that they visited the college's Facebook pages that they were interested in. That's up 19% from the previous year. And this is a trend that's being seen across all forums. They focus a lot on Facebook. It's also being seen on Twitter. It's being seen on LinkedIn. It's being seen on Google+. It's an expectation now. It's what students are looking for. A lot of them visit their Facebook pages or social media pages as often as a university's website. Of those that visited the page, 69% of them went ahead and then liked it, which means that they're going to be getting continual updates, continual feeds. They're going to be seeing what we're posting and sending to them. So really it's in our best interest to not only be on social media, but to be doing it a good job and showcasing what we're doing and help building our presence and our brand. So why are they going on social media more or as often as onto the website? Well, they asked those questions, and 36% said that they use social media to look for things like admissions deadlines, financial aid information, events, time and place, just things that are going on campus. 30% said they just wanted general updates, things that are going on campus, maybe events, press releases, awards, that sort of thing. 28% indicated that they felt more connected to their college by interacting with their social media presence. This could be because that they see an event on Facebook and then they add it to their calendar, then they're able to go see it. They're seeing Facebook posts that show Blackout Night and posts that show that a student just got named the Colorado Leadership or Student Leader of the Year. These things are interesting to students, so it's good for us. And then we are using programs like Read Media, which I'll talk about in a moment, to really highlight student achievements and have that street go both ways. It's also a forum for customer service. We get a lot of questions on our social media pages, Twitter and Facebook in particular, just asking just random questions that they might normally have called the switchboard for a few years ago. And now they're turning to social media for that. A great example is a couple weeks ago when we were having some portal issues. And we were answering questions all day, letting people know when portals back up, when it was down, how they could find out more information, and who they could talk to if they had any more issues. So it really allows us to communicate with people. It also allows us to, in an emergency situation, provide accurate content and monitor rumors. A great example of this was a few weeks ago when there was the shooting in Houston at a community college. Within a matter of moments, their Facebook page or their website had gone down, and the only means of communication from the university to their students, to their alumni, to the media was their Facebook page. And in that situation, we are able to control the message. We're able to correct misinformation. We're able to give rumors to those who are then able to confirm, deny, give it correct information. And it's really a way to communicate and keep everything in one place. So at UCCS in particular, a lot of people are already on social media. Institutional departments, organizations, programs, They have accounts. Student clubs, organizations have accounts. There's groups for the class of 2017 that already has a Facebook group that they're already talking about what books they're going to need and what programs they're going to study. So there's a lot of people that are already there, and we're one of them. So I manage and maintain the main UCCS pages. A great example of that is our Twitter page and Facebook, and we use that again to push out information that we think that students need to know or would be interested, as well as communicating with them. A new project that we've just taken underway is Read Media. And essentially what this is it's a gamification system that helps give students awards and achievements for things that they do on campus. It highlights what they're doing and allows them to share that on Facebook, Twitter, emails to their parents. And essentially a great example with Lauren, she went in and personalized her profile, added what her majors were, what class she is, what her work is, that she's, what program she's active on campus, and she'll get a notification. So the one that she has so far is that she completed her first semester at UCCS. And she got a little note via email saying that she completed it, letting her know how many people are in the class, a new freshman class. She was able to share that on Facebook, with Twitter, to her parents and grandparents, and it really plays towards people wanting to share things about themselves with other people. And in doing so, it really shows off UCCS as this is where this person is doing their work. This is where they are reaching higher. And with that, we're here to help. As you saw before, there's 70 plus Facebook pages already there with institutional accounts. That might be a college account, it might be a department on campus. There's also student groups and organizations and clubs. We do social media training about every month, so 4 to 5 each semester. And if you yourself maintain or monitor an institutional account, or you supervise somebody that does, you're required to attend this training. It's a quick 30, 40-minute training that goes over what the UCCS policy is on social media. It also touches base on some of the best practices on how to be successful on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. And its goal, one of the main goals, is to have a cohesive strategy across campus. Yes, we're decentralized, but that doesn't mean that we can't work together and connect with each other and have things overlapping and doing it right and everybody on the same page. We also require that people who have institutional accounts fill out a contact sheet, like the one on the right. And essentially this just allows us to know who's in charge of what. So if we get a question that is really addressed to financial aid, but it comes to our account, I can then pick up the phone and call Brandon and say, hey, would you mind answering this question? And that cross-promotes all the different social media accounts on campus and makes sure that answers are being corrected or answered correctly. We also have a social media website. It's just uccs.edu/social media. We are getting ready to do a little bit of an overhaul. When that's done, we'll have a social media directory where all official university accounts will be located. So when students come on and want to see how they can connect with the College of Business or the SBA, they will be able to tell where there's a Facebook page or a Twitter page or a LinkedIn page or where they can connect with alumni and find out more information. So one of the fun ones that we get asked a lot of questions about is personal accounts. We don't regulate your personal use of social media. However, just like your personal email or your personal cell phone, all the rules still apply. If you're using Facebook to contact students, then just make sure that you're following all employee guidelines, you're following laws, things like FERPA and HIPAA still exist completely. We have a full list on the website of where you can find those guidelines and policies, but it's just really important that with social media, it's a great way to connect with individuals. But it is a double-edged sword in some ways, because by doing so, if you're connected to the university, say with Facebook or LinkedIn, you're able to say who your current employer are. You're inadvertently linking yourself to your work. And you're then held responsible for what you do post, because if I see that Tom, for example, may have posted something and somebody sends it to me saying that this is inappropriate, of course he'd be held accountable, just like if it was a personal email. So essentially, just realize all rules still apply. It's just like any other form of communication. It just happens to be online. So with that, that's my fun spiel. If you have any questions or anything, contact me, give me a call. That's what we're here for. So, yeah. Any questions? All right, no questions.
It's a changing world for sure, and much to keep on top of. At a later forum, we'll talk about the fact that Phil and the work of folks looking at our social media presence, we have increased virtually every month in the numbers of people who are interacting with us in this manner. And so it's something we have to stay on top of, and it's evolving, and it will change by this time next year. Well, last item of business for the day, and this is, I'm actually very excited about this. We are going to have to change spring commencement, and it's for a very good and positive reason. We have run out of the capacity of the World Arena for one ceremony. We are at fire code limit, and will exceed that limit this coming spring. That's really good news. It means we are not only graduating more students, but they are bringing their families and their friends in record numbers. The reality is the average first-generation student brings 12 family members to their graduation. The only way to stay in the world arena is to limit the participation of family and friends. And so I do take the responsibility of saying that's not who we are. And I know, however, that faculty and staff groups agree with that, because we've had that conversation. So we are going to have 2 ceremonies in the spring on the same day. So we are going to have a long day of celebrating. Now, this is no different than driving to Denver for a major athletic event, staying for the event, and coming back. It's about the same amount of time and energy. Now, what I want to do, and we have a handout for those of you who would be affected by this, because the reason we're saying this today is this takes some planning and commitment of time. Now, logistically, Andrea, who is sitting up here, she will be answering all of the specific questions. We're not going to get into the weeds of questions today. This is more to give you the framework and details, and certainly the in the weeds details will be forthcoming. But we are going to have, and the commencement committee and all of the folks involved have worked hard on this, a ceremony at 11:30 a.m. and another ceremony at 3:30 p.m. Now keep in mind, that's the Broncos game. In between, you've got to drive on either side. The 11:30 a.m. ceremony will be for arts and science graduates all. Bachelor's, master's, and doctoral. The ceremony for all of the other colleges will be bachelor's, master's, and doctoral. And that will be for Bethel, for the College of Business, School of Public Affairs, College of Education, College of Engineering, and Applied Sciences. Now, what that does in terms of the graduates, that just about equally divides, so that we will have an equal number of people graduating at each ceremony, and based on our experience with the audience, roughly an equal number of people in the audience. But one of the decisions was, because the other option, of course, was you have a graduate student graduation and an undergraduate student graduation. That was not the preferred choice when we really talked about who our students are and the need for those first-generation, low-income bachelor's degrees to see what is possible over the continuum. So the committee and the commencement committees include faculty, staff, and students. Really believe that seeing the entire range of what's possible is important. And so both ceremonies will have bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees being conferred. There's another rationale right now for the ceremony times that is not completely dependent upon this campus. President Benson wants to attend all CU commencement ceremonies. So President Benson will have it worse than the rest of us because he has the Anschutz ceremony at 8 a.m. on the same day that we're going to have 2 ceremonies. So we'll think about it. He gets to do 3 and we get to do 2. I sort of perversely like this. But no, I'm kidding, of course. I'm glad he is committed to doing all of the graduation ceremonies. I think that's a positive. And for reasons, as you know, our graduation days, in order to reserve facilities, are set, 5 years? 10 years? 5 years minimum, and sometimes 10 years in advance. And that's hard to do. So the ceremony at Anschutz on May 24th, our ceremony will be on May 24th, is at 8. So to get the regents and the president, the regents will also be doing 3. Here, we will start then at 11:30 and at 3:30. In the future, we are going to try to tighten up that timing because we will simply reserve the World Arena for the entire day. Of course, the time between, you have to reset the arena as well as clear the parking lot and reset the entrance and check-in. That is a minimum of a 2-hour operation with everybody moving as rapidly as they possibly can. Now, what that means is we will have a need for volunteers who are well-versed. We will need faculty and staff to work both ceremonies, although probably LAS faculty will not always work the professional faculty groups in the afternoon or vice versa. But the reality is we will need people to be as enthusiastic for that 3:30 graduation as we were for the 11:30 graduation. And I promise to do that. I mean, I will be as enthusiastic at 3:30 as I was at 11:30, and I'm not going to Anschutz for the 8 a.m. one. But the reality is, when I look at all of this, we are simply running out of the capacity. Faculty, I think many of you know, and there was some controversy about that, we're on the floor this time because we're running out of places on the stage. The floor does allow more room for people to congratulate specific individuals. So we're going to continue to look at that format as we go forward. And when we see the experience of people participating, we will make further adjustments in the commencement. While I think it's going to be a long day, and I think it's going to be a tiring day, it is a joyful day because the fact that we can't even fit in the World Arena because we've got over 10,000 people coming is a testament to the work we do. So I think it's something that I find really invigorating and exciting and tiring. But we thought if you knew in advance, you can take a lot of vitamins up for the days in advance of that particular event, and we will get through it together. We'll have plenty of refreshments and fun and try to make this invigorating. I think that everyone with whom I have talked about what the options really are, I have not had anybody say they wanted me to give 2 tickets each. That's just not who we are. And that's not who our students are. And that is not what we need to do to really promote how absolutely accessible is public higher education to people in this region. So it's going to be a tough day. I worry about Andrea. She is sitting there with a smile on her face right now. I think she may be the one that we should worry about at the end of the day. But the reality is specific questions can be directed at Andrea. The basic degrees and who is going to go where is on a handout that, it's over here, Kelly, right? And I would ask only people who are directly affected by part of the planning for the colleges pick up handouts, because the detailed information will come out through the commencement committees, as it always does. So I am excited because it is a form of really recognizing progress and achievement. And so the students are excited. People can stay for both ceremonies if students have a friend in a college that isn't graduating with them. People are encouraged to do that. And we are working out details on people who are getting multiple degrees across colleges. We're working all of that out. So anyone is encouraged. In fact, but of course, if 15,000 of us stay for 2, we have a problem. So there's a point at which we're not going to really have everybody stay. But I will take a quick question, or I will direct it to Andrea, because we're running up on our time. Does anyone have a question about the commencement change? The fall, winter commencement is still at 1. But you know we had over 6,000 people at winter commencement. So the reality is it is growing exponentially. All right, well, thank you for coming. Phil, thank you. Susan, Gary, thank you. Excellent information. Thank you for coming.